Booyah! Let's get this started with, shall we? Little Women by LOUISA May Alcott, the first book in the March family saga, according to books and LOUISA May Alcott herself. Well, it turns out that is exactly what it seems to be sound like. LOUISA May Alcott wrote the story as a little women story, but it's also a way to act like an instruction book on how little women should act like and what little women should do, and yeah, all the shebang and everything. Well, after that seemed to happen, not lots of things went their way. In fact, LOUISA May Alcott was forced to write this book herself, but this is a summary, so I'll talk all of that in the review. So today I'm just going to talk about the volume 1, part 1, chapter 1 to 23. And finally, let's start. So it starts off with this preface. It's a little quotation from the poem by John Bunyan, and it goes like this. Go then, my little book, and show to all that entertain and bid thee welcome shall. What thou dost, keep close shut up in thy breast, and wish that thou dost show them may be blessed. To them for good may make them choose to be pilgrims better by far than thee or me. Tell them of mercy she is one who early hath her pilgrims begun. Yea, let young damsels learn of her to prize the world which is to come, and so be wise, for little tripping maids may follow God along the ways which saintly feet have trod. That was John Bunyan, as I've already said. It's basically how pilgrims would have done. It's like about a pilgrim on his journey or her journey to the celestial place, aka heaven. And with that, lots of things seems to happen with that. There are also indirect references towards this. In fact, it starts off with the book with a play. They're pretending to be pilgrims. They're playing like pilgrims, and that seems to happen too. And now that we're here, not lots of other things can seem to happen. The Pickwick, we'll eventually even get references to Charles Dickens and everything, but first of all, it's just Christmas morning. It always starts with Christmas, and Christmas, they arrive, and they have a Christmas breakfast, but then their mom is not there because she left early, and then they wait for her to come, and then they come, and the mom comes. They call her Marmee. The 4 March sisters are like Beth, Jo, Amy, and Meg. Yeah, I didn't say Meg. Yeah, Beth, Jo, Amy, and Meg. Also, I should probably say Beth, Jo, Meg, and Amy if I'm going in age order, 16, 15, 13, 12, I believe. That happens. And then they decide to give their Christmas breakfast to the poor people who actually needs them more. There's this family who don't have a proper fire, and they don't even have proper food. And with that, they're like, hey, yeah, heck yeah, let's just go ahead and do everything in our own way. And that happens, and, well, Mr. Lawrence, their next-door neighbor, literally gives them some stuff, candies and treats as a reward for them being generous and not having any Christmas breakfast at all. They gave themselves a Christmas present. They each have $1 too, and they're like, I want to spend them on myself. Let's spend one on each other. Hey, a better idea. Let's spend them on Marmee. She works so hard. That's what they call the mom, Marmee. Like, yeah, good idea. So they go ahead and spend some money on some gifts for Marmee. It doesn't say anything on if they ever gave it to them though. And that happened. And then the next few chapters go ahead with Jo and Beth going to a bar, and Laurie, Mr. Lawrence's grandson, is staying there because he's like an orphan and is living with Mr. Lawrence now because his mom and dad died. It doesn't say. I barely remember why. And then he's like, yeah, I've been traveling I've been abroad most of my life because I've usually been just studying abroad my life, and where, and French and everything. I had no idea what the French meant, except for the part when they gave the translation at the end. And with that, everything seems to work out well. Next thought is that technically, Amy is very and then we can't learn about their faults. Jo's overambitious and lots of other faults too. Also, I'm not gonna mention them here because then it'll just overcomplicate the summary. And then lots of people find out that Jo wants to be a writer, and Bev just wants nothing to do with anything. She's just a pet, but there's nothing that she can do. Also, we're pretty sure she has a cat. Amy just wants to be an artist, and Meg is just a pianist. Dun, 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 dun. Also, she says it's like terrible music, and after Lawrence praises it a lot, she realizes it's not terrible music at all. And with that, they cut into a scene, and everything is wonkers. And then they have a lot of mishaps and adventures, where eventually they're like, Laurie and Joe decide to go to a play, but Amy wants to tag along, but they're like, no, you cannot tag along, and and then Amy's like in a rage, just burnt her book, Joe's book, which she spent several years writing, which is a terrible setback. Actually, just don't destroy old copies, okay? That's terrible. Don't destroy old copies. And she thought some of them were even good enough for print, and then she was not able to forgive Amy for a while, and boom, Amy fell through the ice while ice skating just because Joe didn't tell Amy a warning about not going through the middle. It's too thin, which is a bad idea. Ay. And with that, well, that's pretty much where chapter 24 ends. However, one more thing I will have to say is this. Laurie and Joe seem to be great friends, yes, and at an early start it seems like they have romantic interest in each other, although I highly don't think they're a good match. For now, I haven't read part 2 yet, and that happens. And afterwards, lots of people seem to think like, hey, these guys will get together, we know it, especially those old 18th century people, because they're all like, Viva la revolution! Viva, 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 viva la revolution! Hail the revolution! And they're like, do not viva la revolution me, because we want the old times. And to try to make Louisa me, ALCOTT go ahead and make them marry. Also, it basically ended with Beth just like accepting a proposal of Mr. Brooks, which is Laurie's teacher and father's friend. Their father's in the Civil War fighting. And I have to mention here that it is during the Civil War. And if you compare this to Louisa May Alcott's life, up to this point, lots of it is basically her own life. Joe is modeled on her. She was the second child, and Louisa May Alcott was also the second child. She wanted to be a writer and independent, and Louisa May Alcott wanted to be a writer and independent. And until now, Joe is independent, and I don't think Laurie and Joe is just a good match, so I don't think that'll work out well, too. Also, I've seen the movie, so I know what's probably going to happen. Alright. And as a final note, Beth's going to marry Mr. Brooke, but Aunt March is like, I'm not giving you any money if you marry this guy because this guy's too poor for you. And she's all like, I don't care if he's poor, I'll just earn her way. Okay. And then Aunt March is like, no more money for you from me, ha ha ha, and runs away in a scoff. And Meg is like, okay, I accept your proposal, but let's just wait a few years because, well, we're not financially supportable yet. And that's where part 1 ends. So I'll see you guys in part 2. Now, peace. La la la. All hail the god of cats. Bye.